All right, people, I'm back. This will be shorter, I promise. So while I was preparing my thoughts and this whole gathering, I kept thinking about Kevin's spiritual journey, and he wasn't really a church guy. You know, we were big in the Presbyterian church and very involved, and Kevin just never embraced it, and he had his own way of digging life in the nature and in the music and stuff. But in the later years of his life, he and his wife Lisa became involved with FA, Families Anonymous, and Kevin really embraced the program, and he grew enormously. He became a leader. He led group sessions. People called him for advice and guidance, and he supported other people who had been through similar experiences that they had been. And I came across this reading. It's not a reading that he would have passed on to me or anything, but I read it and it spoke to me because it reminded me of his travels and where he is beaming down on us today. This is a medicine woman's prayer. I will not rescue you, for you are not powerless. I will not fix you, for you are not broken. I will not heal you, for I see you in your wholeness. I will walk with you through the darkness as you remember your light. Remember it, Anne. It's a short time here.
My name is Ken Shepard, and I want to thank Janice for giving us the opportunity to remember Kevin. And for us in the Northeast, didn't get to see him as much the last few years, but it's good that we can reminisce about him. But the truth is, I hated Kevin before I knew him. It started when we were 10. I was 10 years old in the Cub Scouts. The annual Pinewood Derby, where you would make a little race car out of wood and race it down the slope track. So I painfully cut out this car of balsa wood, painted it lime green, sanded it, put these wheels on, put the weights on so it would be the right weight, and it was fast. And it won heat after heat after heat until it got to the finals. And it was promptly beaten by a car from this tall blonde kid I had never seen before. Fast forward about a year, and I watched the same tall blonde kid be an all-star pitcher for the opposing Little League team, striking out batter after batter for the team that my dad sponsored. But about a year after that, I was riding bikes on Wake Robin, in the corner of Wake Robin and Big Oak Road. I ran across the same tall blonde kid. We stopped and started talking, and found out we had a lot in common. And as they say, that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. So Kevin and I helped each other through those early teenage years, encouraging each other to get up the nerve to talk to a girl, listening to The Who and Led Zeppelin in that famous boy cave of his in the basement, and reading about his two favorite Bobbies, Hull and Orr, in the latest issue of Sports Illustrated. And that was a recurring theme in Kevin's life: sports, girls, music, and later on beer. There's a lot of stories over those years how we used to have pickup games with my two brothers against me and Kevin in our driveway, and Kevin had a can't-miss jump shot from the garbage cans. But one of my favorite stories was the rhinoceros story. So we both had paper routes. Kevin had got me my paper route, and we split up the neighborhood. We would deliver Stanford Advocate 6 days a week. On Saturday, we'd get an envelope with our pay for the week, which was $6. We would promptly get on our bikes, pedal down to High Ridge Road to Colony Records and buy an album. In those days, you didn't know what the songs were on the album. You couldn't pre-listen to them, so we always tried to do a safe bet by the Beatles or some group that we knew. But one week, Kevin decided to buy this album from a group called Rhinoceros, because he had heard a song he liked on the radio. So we got home, went over to my house, and anxiously put the album on the turntable and started listening. It soon became apparent that Rhinoceros was always going to be a one-hit wonder. The rest of the album basically sucked. And I watched as Kevin's face went from anticipation to dismay to anger as a whole week of hard pedaling went down the drain. And then when he got on his bike to go home, the album actually never made it to his house. He threw it up in the air, and we watched as it shattered into 1,000 pieces on the road. But later on, I was impressed when we were in high school, and Kevin joined an elite hockey league in Westchester County, foregoing the opportunity and the glory of being a standout on his high school hockey team. And he loved the sport that much. And then, of course, there was the famous trip to Texas one summer with our friend Neil in the oil fields. And Kevin had a lot of experiences down there, many of which can't be repeated, but I do remember a tidbit that he came back with. In Texas, evidently, they don't measure the distance between towns by miles, they measure it by six-packs. And I recall him saying that the distance from Midland to El Paso was a 3 six-pack ride. And then when Kevin went off to college and later on to Pennsylvania and then Chicago and then Kentucky, we didn't see each other as much, but we did talk on the phone often. And when we did, or should I say, Kevin would talk for hours. And it was never boring. I never knew flexible packaging could be that interesting. But it was. He made it interesting. And, but I'm glad that he did struggle in that last year and was a hero and inspiration. And when he did call to say goodbye, I'm glad that I got a chance to tell him one more time that I loved him and share some more laughs together. And Kevin was a great friend, father, son, brother, husband, group leader, hockey coach, and grandfather. And he had a life well lived. So peace, my brother.